Birthdays are always really important, but it's even more so because we have George with us. We made it.
Sounded like he was snoring, so we went to bed having a bit of a giggle that it sounded like George was snoring, and then found out the next day it escalated pretty bad.
Basically, he's working really, really hard to breathe. You can notice it around his ribs. He's really sucking in and very pale and sweaty, like working really hard to breathe normally.
Early February, we went down to Queensland Children's Hospital.
It was difficult to try and figure out his diagnosis, and it wasn't until he went for the CT scan that they figured out that he actually had the pulmonary artery sling.
So his main artery was wrapped around his trachea.
The biggest problem is that it will squeeze the food pipe and the windpipe, and it's when you compress the windpipe or the airway that you result in a lot of breathing difficulties.
The decision then was made to have surgery and relocate his main artery. Whilst they were doing surgery on George, they may have touched a vocal cord. So they may have touched a nerve which links to his vocal cord, which has given him vocal cord paralysis.
It's very small and it's what we call tiger country. You got a lot of very critically important structures around that you can't afford to injure. The vocal cords basically are one of the main functions really is to close off when you're swallowing, so all the food and water that you swallow don't go into the lungs but actually go into the stomach. That can cause a very nasty pneumonia. It's when you have these newborn babies that are very sick in the post-operative period and they're very drowsy, they may not cough, and they're the ones that you can get life-threatening problems.
At the moment, what it does mean is that he has to feed on his side.
How's the young man doing?
He's doing very well, thank you.
Really good.
We did a study and 40% of the patients in the last 5 years that had vocal cord paralysis were never seen by an ENT specialist after they left the hospital. And that's actually not ideal. So hopefully by doing this study, we will tidy all of that up. Well, we'll actually know exactly how many patients have the problem and to what extent the problem is. That's the first most important thing. And then we'll have a much more, we'll have a much better treatment plan. The hospital foundation run the grant round and the Golden Cascade hits, help fund all the research, so it's working very well.
Oh, back to me. Oh. Golden Casket's always had this connection with Queensland Health and with kids. It dates back to World War I when Golden Casket was actually founded to help sort of fund some of this health infrastructure in Queensland. It's one thing to hear about the research that's being conducted, but to actually see someone that's really benefited from the research is really a privilege.
It's been 6 months since his surgery and he's recovering really, really well. He's just your ordinary little boy reaching all of his milestones and he's just beautiful, but we're a little bit biased.
Oh, that's nice.